Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the October 23rd, 2025 Agenda Meeting of the Minnesota Public Utilities Commission. I'm Katie Sieben. I'll take the role of the other commissioners who are present for today's hearing. Commissioner Partridge.
Here.
Commissioner Hom.
Here.
Commissioner Sullivan.
Present.
Commissioner Tuma.
Here.
A quorum is present, and we have a number 5 items on our agenda today. Christian Noyce, please introduce our first item.
Good morning, Chair Sieben, Commissioners. Item number 1 is docket number E002, E290-SA-25-315, involving Northern States Power Company doing business as XL Energy and Owatonna Public Utilities in the matter of the joint request of Northern States Power Company doing business as XL Energy and Owatonna Public Utilities to modify electric service territory boundaries. The question before the Commission is, should the Commission approve the permanent change from XL to Owatonna Public Utilities? We have party representatives from XL, the department, and Owatonna available for questions. Staff have no additional comment.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Tuma.
Madam Chair, I found this extremely interesting looking at it, but I won't bore you with the details because they did such a great job putting the notices and everything together that I'll just go ahead and make the motion. I move that we approve the joint request for agreed upon permanent boundary change from XL to Owatonna Public Utilities and request that MnGeo update the maps as requested.
Great. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of Commissioner Tuma's motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion prevails. Thank you. Christine Pham analyzed docket number 2 for us. Please introduce the item when you're ready.
Good morning, Chair Sieben and Commissioners. Item number 2 today is docket number E-015/D-24-324 in the matter of Minnesota Power's petition for approval of 2024 remaining life depreciation, and docket number E-015/M-24-437 in the matter of Minnesota Power's petition for approval to track and defer costs resulting from the legacy coal combustion rule surface impoundment rule. The question before the Commission today are, should the Commission approve Minnesota Power's 2024 remaining life depreciation proposal, and should the Commission approve Minnesota Power's proposal to track and defer costs resulting from the legacy coal combustion rule surface impoundment rule? Staff and parties are available for questions.
Great, thank you. If the parties would please come forward. We can start with appearances on my right. Please state your name and the organization you're representing.
Chair Sieben, Commissioners, Matt Brodeen on behalf of Minnesota Power. Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Craig Adonisio on behalf of the Department of Commerce, and I'm joined online by my colleagues Justin Taylor and Mark Johnson.
Okay, great. We'll begin with questions. Commissioner Hom, did you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Chair Sieben. For the company, I think based on your June 6 reply comment, you agree with all the department's recommendations in their comments. Based on that, the decision option number 7, you are supposed to provide certain information, but Ms. Pham and I checked your 25-342 dockets, the 2025 filing in September 2nd. We didn't see it. So what's going on with it?
Commissioner Hom, right now we're still in the midst of the investigative stage. So we're doing, right now that'll be completed, it's estimated around February 2026. So currently we're still doing a lot of the investigation that will lead to the ultimate cost estimates that we're looking to provide with the update to the commission. So once we have better information about what it is we have on the sites and what it is we'll need to do, then we'll be able to put together a more firm cost estimate. We don't want to provide updates that continue to have wide ranges because of what we don't know right now at this point.
Okay, thank you. Then department, are you okay with that schedule? There is no specific deadline you are asking for this information to be filed. So I'm just wondering, do you need this information by a certain time, or are you okay with working with the company and set the schedule and then get this done before next filing?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Hom, we are comfortable with kind of the uncertainty. The timeline is set by the EPA. The first reports, I believe, are due in February 2026, and there's been a discussion about extending that. And we understood that, and we'll want more solid information before we allow cost recovery to begin. But as of right now, we're comfortable with the timelines.
Okay, so my understanding is you can provide some reasonable number by next filing because you can finish by February 2026, right?
Commissioner Hom, that's correct. We anticipate February 2026 we'll have more of an idea of what needs to be done, and then we can start to scope it out and to get additional information. So by the filing in next year, we should have that information. It should be fairly accurate at that point.
And then also you understand you need a solid number before next rate case filing because annual filing, it can be an approximation, but it has really good number for company to provide so the department and other party can evaluate.
Commissioner Hom, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Brodeen, I recall last year when the company had a release at one of your coal ash ponds. Could you just give us an update on the status of that? I believe it was all cleaned up, and obviously the leak is no longer occurring. But how does this the CCR legacy rule also potentially relate to that and that particular site that had the leak?
Chair Sieben, unfortunately I'm not involved in that particular matter, so I don't have information detailed into it. I do know that just in general, as you mentioned, that the cleanup was performed and that there's no longer a leak. And so, at this point, there's continued monitoring and other things that are going on right now. But from our position, I think that we've done everything that we can in order to clean that up and make that right. As far as the applicability of the legacy CCR rule, I also don't know yet, and I think that's still being investigated at this point.
But that is one of the coal ash ponds that would be eventually remediated and removed, and
Chair Sieben,
that's
yes,
what we're planning for
that
here.
is correct, yeah.
That's what these costs are ultimately planning for.
Correct.
Great. Commissioner Tuma.
I'm curious, we're doing deferred accounting. And in my mind, I assume that's for actual physical activity at the coal plant. Does it cover your regulatory time like now? Is that the plan? Because I would assume that when you do your rate case, you kind of assume that there's going to be these kind of activities. So I'm just curious if this is just for capital expense, but does that include some booking of time for your regulatory efforts?
Commissioner Tuma, I will not be booking this to this legacy CCR account. This will be in my general regulatory bucket. This falls under what in our last rate case, what we budgeted for that. So I do believe that it will just be the capital cost, the investigative cost, the stuff that is specific to the investigation and the implementation of whatever response we need for the legacy CCR implementation.
Let's say this doesn't happen. Let's say, I don't know, we have a crazy orange-haired president come along and says, we're not going to do this anymore. Anything we can do for coal, we're going to do it. And by goodness, we're going to get away with this. Would then there be any costs applied in there? Not you. So, I mean, you got these guys out investigating, and all of a sudden, which happens, people check on rules. Okay. Let's just say this rule goes away or this change goes away. Is that it? You're not going to seek any recovery for investigative costs that you've put into it to this date, or would it include those investigation costs?
Commissioner Toom, I believe if a regulatory asset is created, if deferred accounting is approved, that could be included in a future rate case at that point, and then we would need to look at the reasonableness of it and everything else of those expenses for recovery. But as you know, we are uncertain whether or not this rule is going to be enforced by this administration, potentially a subsequent one. So it's a little bit in flux right now, but those changes will be addressed in the annual depreciation filings as we go forward. There will be updates, and then, of course, if this rule gets deferred or it's not enforced, the spending will go down, potentially to zero, depending on what happens, or we'll spend accordingly.
Well, there will be some spend that you would want to seek recovery for. Is that your understanding, Mr. Agnizio?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Tuma, I believe so, but if, with your permission, I'd like to pass the baton to one of my colleagues online who
Sure.
are more in the details of that.
Sorry, I couldn't hear. Who were you asking?
Either Mr. Johnson or Mr. Taylor.
Mr. Taylor or Mr. Johnson? Go ahead if you can add.
Yeah, Justin Taylor with the department. That is my understanding. Can you please repeat the question?
So the question was first whether any regulatory cost, Mr. Brody sitting here today, would be booked in this account if it doesn't happen. Okay. The next question was, and he said that's not going to happen, so that's fine. The next question was, if this doesn't happen, obviously they've expended some time to investigate, not regulatory folks. These are the people that are out there determining what do I need to do and how much is it going to cost. And he's saying he would believe that would be covered if this goes away. It's deferred, or, we have an administration that says whatever we can do for coal, we're going to do it and stop doing any of this silly, coal ash stuff. And he would indicate that he believes the investigative cost would be deferred and available to the next rate case. Is that your understanding?
That was my understanding, correct.
But Commissioner Tuma, you're not suggesting that the coal ash pond would not get cleaned up eventually. You're just concerned about the different cost scenarios if the rule is imposed or if it's not, because I don't know if we don't have jurisdiction over deciding that, but we don't want to leave the impression that we don't want the coal ash cleaned up either for the company. And I know
I'm
that
looking at it purely from accounting. This is a regulatory activity looking at rules as they change. We set the rate for them in the rate case. Okay, they're going to stay out now and for a whole nother year. Okay, and they've built into that rate case activity for people to investigate things that they have to make compliance. We're making a special deferral for them to look at this that hasn't happened yet. It's anticipated. What if it doesn't happen? What if they do all this investigation and it just goes away? And my concern is that we're spending a lot of money doing nothing if that goes away. Now, my guess is, in the rate case, if they weren't prudent or reasonable, they did a whole bunch of investigation that really wasn't needed, and they had forewarning that this was going to go away, I would have Ms. Campbell and Mr. Agnizio saying, deny 50% because they shouldn't have done this work because they had forewarning. And Mr. Brody's nodding his head, that was what be his expectation. So I just want to create some clarity that if we go forward this and it goes away by your next rate case, which it could or may not, or may, we're going to still investigate whether your expenditures for investigation was reasonable and prudent. That was going to be my next point that I make, and I think that's what you would understand. I see Ms. Campbell has come up, so I'm looking to her to tell me that's what she's thinking.
Yes, Nancy Campbell for the Department of Commerce. Yes, that is what we're thinking. I mean, deferred accounting is simply letting MP defer those costs for future review. So we don't have to decide that today, but we would look at those costs to see whether they were costs related to the investigation for this type of work specifically, and what capital costs they did. And obviously, if those costs don't occur, or we don't think those were costs related to that specific deferral, we would challenge the cost recovery of that, and we'll do that in the next rate.
Or they're not prudent, like you said, if there was a forewarning and they should have known.
This is just giving you an opportunity to defer them. Otherwise, you would expense them for accounting purposes right today, but it gives them an opportunity to defer them for future cost recovery in the next rate case, and then any party can take a look at them.
And I'm comfortable, Madam Chair, I'm comfortable with that because I want them cleaned up. And so I think I'm supportive of the fact that they should be cleaned up appropriately. But if we don't have to do it, I mean, I'm assuming they're in a safe place now, they're just putting it in a safer place. That would be a determination for a future rate case, and we would look at that. But we don't know, and that's the part I have. The only problem I have with this is the investigative costs. How much is it being happening, and is it reasonable if this doesn't happen? We don't know if it's going to happen as of yet. So that's it.
Okay. Commissioner Hom, do you have a motion?
Thank you, Chair Siban. Yes, I moved decision option 1 through 7.
Is there any discussion of Commissioner Hom's motion to, and it looks like as outlined in the briefing papers, did we confirm ever that MP was comfortable with 4 and 7 too? Mr. Brodeen?
Chair Sieben, we are comfortable with both 4 and 7. And 7, as we've discussed with the commissioners and the department, there was no timeline with 7, but I think we can work with the department to determine an appropriate timeline for that. If not the next filing, sometime after we have some certainty.
The next filing in this docket?
The depreciation docket, correct.
Okay. And that's, the department's comfortable with that in terms of timing?
Madam Chair, yes.
Okay. Sorry for the interruption there, Commissioner Hom. Any other discussion of his motion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion prevails 5-0. Thank you.
That was a very tough one, tearing up. She has little kids at home. It's that time of year, right?
Good morning. Andrew Larson, thank you for your work on item number 3. Please introduce it when you're ready.
Good morning, Chair Sieben and Commissioners. Before the Commission is item number 3, docket number G-004/M-25-200 in the matter of Great Plains Natural Gas Company's gas utility infrastructure cost adjustment for Tariff 2025, revenue requirement, and revised adjustment factors. The question before the Commission is, should the Commission accept Great Plains annual report and petition for approval of recovery for gas utility infrastructure costs and revised adjustment factors for 2025? Please note a typographical error on page 11, decision option 9. Decision option 9 should read table 5 and not table 4. So decision option 9 should read table 5 and not table 4. Parties and staff are available for questions. Thank you.
If the parties wanted to come forward for questions, Is Great Plains here? Or turn your cameras on if you're online. Hi, Mr. Johnson, I see you. Could you please introduce yourself, Mr. Johnson, and then the gentleman from Great Plains?
Sure. Good morning, Chair, Sieben, Commissioners, Mark Johnson with the Minnesota Department of Commerce.
And Great Plains.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is Brad Davison with Great Plains Natural Gas.
Great. Who would like to begin with questions? Anyone? Any questions? No? Commissioner Partridge, did you have a motion?
I do. Thank you, Chair Stephen. Great job, Mr. Larson, on making this very clear and straightforward, as well as the department and Great Plains. I thought this was a pretty easy docket, so thank you for making it so. I have a quick question for Great Plains and the department on decision option number 11. I think this was added by staff just for compliance purposes and consistency. Any concerns or questions about decision option number 11?
Mr. Davison.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to find decision option 11.
Sure. It's on the page 12. It's a compliance requirement that within 10 days you file your tariff sheet and your customer notice. So it's pretty standard.
Yes, we have no problem with that.
Okay, excellent. All right, then I have a motion. Thank you, Mr. Davison. My motion is decision option number 1, number 3, number 5, number 7, number 9, and number 11.
And your decision option includes table number 5 and number
Yes.
9
Yes,
as
thank you.
discussed earlier. So any questions on Commissioner Partridge's motion? Or I meant any discussion? All in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed?
See if we're listening.
I see if I'm paying attention. The motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Great Plains and Mr. Johnson. And now another, we're on agenda number 4 now. Please introduce that docket.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Before the Commission is item number 4, docket number G-004/D-25-243. In the matter of Great Plains Natural Gas Company's petition for approval of its 2025 annual depreciation certification. The question before the Commission is, should the Commission approve Great Plains Natural Gas Company's annual depreciation certification? Please note a correction on decision options 2, 3, 4, and 5. On decision options 2, 3, 4, and 5, Great Plains also supports these decision options along with the department. So everybody, both parties, then support all decision options. Parties and staff are available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there questions from commissioners? Commissioner Hahn.
Thank you, Chair Stephen. So I have a question to company. On page 7, table 3, there is an addition to intangible, and what item was added to up to like $100,000 there?
Mr. Davison.
Yes, I'm just looking at that here. I don't have that information right now. I can definitely follow up on that and get back to you.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, this is a more annual depreciation filing, so it doesn't have a direct consequence to the rate case yet. However, I think it's good to see those details in your annual filing. I was comparing this with the Minnesota Power case in the item number two today, and in Minnesota Power case, they have a more individual items, so I can clearly see what was added, what is depreciated more or less. But I couldn't see that in your filing, and particularly this intangible is a bit tricky, so that's why I want to ask you. Hopefully next filing you can have a more specificity there to make sure that we can understand what is going on.
I'm sure I'm not remembering this correctly, but Mr. Davison, that wouldn't have been was this your case where there was a door repair and some unexpected construction? No.
That'll be more general.
I'm not sure. I don't know if that would fall under the intangibles. I'd have to get the itemized copy and to be able to speak on that.
Yeah, along the line, I think also the general item, which is a bit another murky area, like repairing buildings can be part of that one. But I think we need to know. I understand you had a weather situation many times. I understand you may have that situation, but also I think it's good to know those details when you are filing in annual filing.
Oh, yeah, and the door repair was in the building retirements line on page 8, so it wasn't that expensive. So I was off base.
Yeah, thank you. I mean,
yeah,
that's it.
Okay, any other discussion about the docket, or Commissioner Sullivan, do you have a motion?
I do have a motion, and I thank you, Mr. Larson, for clarifying that. I was going to have a question about if the company was okay with decision options 2 through 5, but it sounds like they are good with that. Commissioner Hom, is there anything you would like to see on this? Just noting it for the record. And
thank you, Commissioner Sullivan. At the end of the day, they have to come back with the detail during the rate case, but I think it's good to know, and we can monitor. This annual filing is more monitoring for future rate case, what will happen at the rate case. So it's good to know, but it's not essential at this time.
Mr. Davison, would it be, since you said you could follow up and find out what that $100,000 intangible is, could you just submit that in a compliance filing in the docket in the next 10 days?
Yes, we can definitely do that.
Okay, great.
all right, great. Well, with that, I appreciated Mr. Larson, Dr. Larson, the work that you did on this. Everything, appreciate the parties, working constructively towards this, and I think all the issues are pretty resolved and settled. So my decision option will be to move, or my motion is to move decision options 1, to approve the proposed depreciation parameters, decision options 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Great. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? The motion prevails 5-0.
I was going to make it funny and just say yes.
Yes, I know. I didn't know what to say.
Then I think the lawyers would be like, that was wrong.
Jeff.
Thank you, Mr. Davison.
Drop his glasses down. Look.
Good morning, Ms. Marcus. Please introduce our next item.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. Item number 5 involves all electric utilities for docket E99 CI 19704 in the matter of an investigation into self-commitment and self-scheduling of large baseload generation facilities. The questions before the Commission are: have utilities provided adequate information in the March 2024 and March 2025 compliance filing on self-commitment? Should the utilities be required to provide additional information or take additional steps regarding self-commitment at this time? And should the filing requirements for future years be modified? Parties and staff are available for questions.
Thank you very much. Could the parties please come forward if they're here? Or turn your cameras on. Mr. Brodeen, starting with you again, please state your name for the record.
Matt Brodeen on behalf of Minnesota Power.
Lauren Steinhauser on behalf of Xcel Energy.
Sydney Lieb for the Minnesota Department of Commerce, and I have Dr. Steve Rackow here available for questions as well.
And online, Otter Tail?
Chris Burns on behalf of Otter Tail Power, and I have with me Ryan Retzlaff and Adam Copeland for questions.
Okay, great. Who would like to begin with questions? No? Oh, Commissioner Hahn.
Thank you, Chair Stephen. So I'll start with something simple. And to departments, there was some response to department's concern on the missing data and other issues, and there was no reply comments. So I just want to make sure that department is comfortable with the decision option number 2, 4, and 6.
Chair Sieben, Commissioner Hum, yes, the department is comfortable with those decision options.
Okay, thank you. So more high-level question to the utilities. Yeah, I understand this is about trying to save money for the ratepayers. And then also I understand depends on the natural gas price, this number fluctuates. But one concern I think in this case is cycling baseload can potentially harm your potential fixed O&M due to the wear and tear. Have you seen those patterns, or do you see any forced or planned outage pattern change based on this dispatch? So start with Minnesota Power and Xcel and Otter Tail, probably.
Chair Sieben, Commissioner Hom, I don't know that we've been doing this long enough to see the ultimate results of it, but there is some different usage compared to historical use and intended use of some of the baseload facilities. So it is something that we're monitoring, and we're making sure that there's a little bit of additional maintenance checks and other things. We've stepped up some of that because of the use and the recommendations based on that use for some of that. So there's been a little bit additional, I believe, in our O&M that's come into this, but I don't know that we've seen evidence of additional forced outages as a direct result of this changed use.
Okay, thank you.
Chair Sieben, Commissioner Hom, I have some colleagues on the phone who would be able to answer the question for you. I defer to them.
Hi, can you hear us online? I don't know your
can.
name.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry,
please.
Nathan Hart, Xcel Energy.
Well, there we go. Hi. Please go ahead.
Our comment about the usage is fairly similar to last statement. Increased use of base generation correlates generally with forced outages and system conditions that we were seeing over due to just increased forced outages and system conditions with MISO.
Okay, thank you. Otter Tail. Yeah.
Chair Sieben, Commissioner Hom, I'm going to defer to Adam Copeland for this one.
Yeah, thanks. This is Adam Copeland, Otter Tail Power. My comments would be similar as well. Anytime you have these big facilities, these intended to be base load facilities, cycling up and down, there's inherent wear on different things. I think to keep them online we don't see as much wear and tear, but when we cycle these big units offline, every time you do that, it's, for example, at Big Stone, we have a unit that was built in 1975, and it's a little bit like taking a car, shutting it down for a while. Every time you bring it back up as a 1975, it really, it does have some things that don't start up quite the same the next time. So some inherent wear and tear, but again, we haven't had enough cycling here that we've been able to quantify a lot of the O&M costs related with that.
Okay, thank you. So this might be unfair to you guys. When you're offering this into the MISO market, you are paid with the startup cost because MISO is allowing you to factor those startup costs. Are you factoring those wear and tear as a part of the your offer price?
Mr. Brodeen.
Commissioner Hom, I'm not sure if that the wear and tear and that additional wear and tear is included in that or not. That's something I'm unaware of. I'll see if I get a ping here on from my phone of friends, and we'll answer that if I can.
Chair Stephen, Commissioner Hom, Mr. Hart has indicated that yes, those costs are included. If you'd like more information, he can respond further.
Okay, thank you. No. How about Ottawa?
Any costs that we have additional from the wear and tear, we try to include in that startup cost as well. But I will go back to my comment earlier of it's been short-lived so far, and we don't have real good handle on what those additional O&M wear and tear costs are at this point.
So thank you. So overall, I think there is no additional forced outage situation, so I think it's a good thing. Additional wear and tear should be a part of your startup cost. So I think ratepayers are not losing money because based on that number, you are dispatching this one. So I hope that's properly priced when you're offering this unit to make sure that ratepayers still getting benefit of it. So that's it.
On the discussion on page 21 of the briefing papers, Mr. Brodeen, it talked about how MP in your 2024 filing didn't put like the plant startup conditions. Maybe I should ask the department, but were you intending to still do that, or help me understand where we're at with that?
Chair Sieben, we provided updated information with the startup conditions in this filing, so we did provide a supplemental filing on that, and we do intend to do that in the future. That was just an oversight.
Oh, I see. So you did on August 21st. That's what I missed there.
Correct.
Okay. So, and the department, that's obviously, you want it filed like that in the future too. So, okay. Commissioner Tuma.
I want to talk about decision option 9 a little bit. I thought this information was valuable. Sometimes it doesn't give you the results that you anticipate, but there's very reasons for that. That's why it's a dynamic market. And so maybe the labels are bad. Maybe we should, instead of best and worst case scenarios, call it, must run versus, market operations, or, like we do with the seasonal, the economic dispatch all the time versus what actually happened. So I find that information valuable. I know it always doesn't give you the results you anticipate, but I don't know why we would be hiding this information. This is the exact reason why we did this, is to evaluate it, and we anticipated where we get good results. I think overall, once you average it out, ratepayers are ahead, but on occasion, it just doesn't happen because we didn't anticipate gas prices being so low or whatever. So what is the argument? I guess it's the department. I don't think you recommended it, or I just see XL and MP's name next to it. So I'm trying to understand why we wouldn't have this information in this filing.
Chair Sieben, Commissioner Tuma, I think from the department's perspective, we're not strongly recommending that it discontinue. But if it does continue, it's not clear what value we're getting out of it and where it ties into other regulatory decisions. It sort of seems to be a little bit all over the place. If we do want to continue it, we might want to get some clear objectives of what we want to do with it. I think to Commissioner Ham's questions about what the operational costs are of running the plant this way and whether those costs are being properly put into the bid pricing, that might be something that would be useful to come out of this. We might want to tie it into how it's impacting compliance with the carbon-free standard now that we have that in the state, and whether it's providing value to the ratepayers in that way. If we're reducing the emissions from the coal plants and running something else instead, if we're seasonally operating, is that providing better compliance with 0 by 40? And is that providing value to ratepayers? I think if you're going to put it back, I'm not going to opine on all the things we could possibly do with the filing, but if you want to put it back out there, it might be worth thinking about asking questions around how we're using the data, whether or not we're getting the right data elements. Because from the department's perspective right now, we've done this several times now, and it's not clear that we're getting useful information out of it.
Well, it's a pretty simple metric, and that's what it is. I mean, it's for all those things that you just said. Okay, but it is a metric. It's just there as a metric for us to understand. I mean, I could imagine if down the road, under the it should be run economically dispatched all the time, and we see that that's saving a whole bunch of money, and the O&M comes in lower than that, that's a decision we might want to make in a future filing with cost recovery filing, saying you should be doing this all the time. Now you know this, and it's unreasonable and imprudent for you to continue to operate it that way. Now, I wouldn't say that's the case. It seems like most of their proposals have been landing about where I would expect it to, and so it would say everything's fine. It's like the dashboard is running and my temperature on my car is where I expect it to be. I'm not going to be worrying about it. Now, if it spikes up, that's when I react to it, and the decisions I make at that stage depends on a lot of things. Am I driving through the desert, or am I up in a blizzard in Minnesota and I could wait for a week before I got to run it into the mechanic? I don't know. I mean, those are the things that we just don't know when that thing tips up, what's going on. But it seems like that metric, that little meter that we're looking at, very oversimplified, helps us kind of understand what to do in those situations you just laid out.
Chair Sieben, Commissioner Tuma, I think we're obviously in agreement with you from the department's perspective that these filings could have value. I think if we want to continue doing them, we might want to tie them to some other reporting so that this docket is not sort of standing alone, getting lost somewhere. You could possibly tie this in with a compliance reporting on the CFS. You might want to tie it into a rate case somewhere where you're looking at prudency of running the plants and things to that nature. So I think the department's feeling is more that as a standalone docket, just out in space, this information isn't getting pulled in effectively in other places, so it might make sense to tie it in somewhere else if we want to keep it.
I'm happy to tie it to other places. I think it should tie itself to those things when it happens, is what I'm saying. I don't think I have to, I know it's there and we're watching it. It's an important docket in my mind. And I don't necessarily like the labels. I think they kind of make a judgment call, but that's fine. I think that was the intent when we made it, that we felt like there was a best and worst case scenario. But to me, this is a valuable analytic. I don't know, to the utilities, any concerns? I mean, I'm assuming not, but.
Chair Sieben, Commissioner Tuma, there's no particular concern with continuing this. Obviously, the more reporting we do, the more time and effort it takes. But there are some information in here that is in other places, and it can be used for good and it can be used for bad, I think, depending on what we've used it for so far. currently there hasn't, we haven't really seen a large impact on our filings because of this. So we would be fine continuing it if ordered by the commissioner if we didn't go with this decision option.
And I particularly want to hear from Otter Tail and Excel because I suppose this could be used in other jurisdictions against you. I don't know if you've seen that or you have concerns about that or,
Chair Stephen, Commissioner Tuma, none of those concerns have come up. Our primary concern with agreeing with the decision option was that we want to be providing valuable data. We provide a lot of data to stakeholders in the commission, and if we're doing it, we just want it to be valuable. So if you find it valuable, we're happy to continue doing it. If there's a way to make it more valuable, we're happy to adjust.
Okay. Otter Tail?
Chair Sieben, Commissioner Tuma, I'm going to defer to Ryan Retzlaff. He's the one who handles this a lot for us, so he'll have some good information.
Mr. Radsloff is glad to have you, but you're on mute, so.
Thank you. Chair Sieben, Commissioners, Ryan Retzlaff with Otter Tail Power. I don't think Otter Tail is opposed to continuing reporting. I also don't think we're opposed to discontinuing. I just think that it's important that everybody kind of is aware of the realities of trying to model the MISO market a whole different, under different circumstances. It's very difficult for the utilities to recreate dispatch of the market under a whole new set. We just don't have the information to do that. Otter Tail has done that in the past with a whole bunch of assumptions, and we can continue to do that. I think in one of the recent filings, our actuals kind of fell outside of the range of the best and worst case, or all economic or all self-commitment. But I did think that it landed in the reasonableness range. So to Commissioner Tuma's point, it might be a good dashboard gauge to see if nothing gets out of whack, but I just hope that there's an expectation or an understanding that it can be really hard to remodel the market. And it's especially hard for Otter Tail because we have, SPP committing and dispatching both of our units often before MISO would. And so that creates another level of complexity. But so I guess just to summarize, just so long as we have realistic expectations, we would be fine continuing or discontinuing if others don't find value in it. So.
Well, unless my other commissioners don't find value in it, I think it is a good dashboard read, but it's, to me, maybe the label is, they can always relabel it. We don't have to call it what it is, but I wasn't the one that made the motion. I think it was Commissioner Sullivan, so I don't know, where his feelings are. Or was it Wickwan or Commissioner Hom? I can't remember who came up with this good idea.
Commissioner Hom.
Thank you, Chair Stephen. Yeah, initially I was following department's recommendation, not the utilities. When department doesn't use it for the analysis, I don't see much value because we are heavily relying on department's analysis. Being said, but if individual commissioner has a different way to engage in the data, I definitely agree with you that we need to keep the information. And to be honest, I didn't go in detail of this data yet, so I cannot say one way or another. I was heavily relying on department's recommendation because in this docket, department is the only party who use that data. If they don't use it, I don't know whether we need it. So that's why I was going to move number 9 also, but I think if you think we can use it in different way, I'm not strongly in one way or another.
And I'd be open to something along the lines of, in the next filing, have the department explain to us where they would use the data, or if not, then, because all those areas would be valuable to me, and certainly in the recovery of our, that's an important docket for this information to fall into, is when we.
Yeah, I agree with you that every penny does matter to the ratepayers. So I think this is a very significant docket. Not only it has an implication to carbon emission, but I think I really focus on this one as a affordability part of our commission order, I think our commission was, leading this effort in the MISO. Now MISO is publishing this information in their monthly or quarterly report. It's being hidden in appendix, but I think still it's there. So yeah, I think I agree with you. Maybe we can have one more year, and then also I can get into more detail of this data to see whether we can use it even if department doesn't engage in this analysis.
And Dr. Lieb, would you be willing to file recommendations for what you think should be improved in the reporting requirements if we still want it to continue? But I think you said earlier there should be a little bit of refinement. Then how quickly can you do that, or is that something you could do?
Chair Sieben, we'd be happy to do that. Would you want to notice and comment it, or do you just want us to put something in the docket?
I think just in the docket, because it's a pretty small universe of folks dealing with this now, so they're going to see it when you make your recommendations, your on their filings, and they can have reply comments then.
Commissioner Partridge.
Thank you, Chair Sieben. So I had my only concern, sorry, my computer went to sleep. My concern with it is that the department described the results as illogical and contradictory, and so I am concerned that someone who wants to make a point that isn't consistent with reality could pick up the data and use it to make a point that's not realistic. I just wonder if, rather than doing a forward look where you're trying to guess at and make a bunch of assumptions about what the MISO market could do, and this would be consistent with this idea that maybe Dr. Lieb or her staff could file some recommendations, would it be useful to do a look back and say, instead of what do we think the market's going to do next year, what would the outcome have been had we done these different scenarios last year and the year before? That might be at least giving us realistic information that isn't going to contradict, how the outcome of that actual year, if that makes sense.
Department, they were the ones that would be doing the work, so.
And I'll just say on top of this, maybe this is just a consideration as you think about what could be useful, but just off the top of my head, I do have concerns about a modeling exercise that gives you results that contradict reality, because that information is not only not useful, but it could lead us down the wrong path or just provide fodder for people to make points that are not consistent with reality.
Chair Sieben, Commissioners Partridge and Tuma, since I'm not sure who's asking the question or if there is a question, I think the department's open to viewing it either way. We might want to take it back and discuss it internally. I know trying to model how the market would have cleared in some sort of counterfactual is also not a straightforward exercise, but I think we can talk about it internally, and we're happy to make some sort of filing in 30 days or something on how we think this filing could be improved to be more useful to the overall system.
Commissioner Sullivan.
Thank you. One of the things that I was thinking about with the conversation in this, and along the lines with it's an offshoot of what Commissioner Hahn was saying, and your MISO's IMM has been, I think it's kind of calmed down at this point, but he has made waves about not liking the way that Minnesota dispatches some of these units. And I'm concerned, have you thought about that? Have you thought about the potential, for mischief?
Chair Sieben, Commissioner Sullivan, I think my understanding is that the concerns of the IMM have been mostly met with the change in the legislation specifically directing the companies to make this change. I don't think there's been a challenge about this procedure of seasonally operating the plants since then.
I don't think he always recognizes states have authority.
Chair Stephen, Commissioner Sullivan, as the department, we speak for the state of Minnesota, and the state of Minnesota was directed in the legislation to change the way these plants are operating to reduce the coal plant operation. I think if we run into a problem with the IMM, we'll have to deal with that from a state perspective.
Commissioner Hahn.
Thank you, Chair Siebert. Yeah, thanks, Commissioner Sullivan. Now I remember. So because I was working on this issue as a staff before, and then I was working with the MISO, and then MISO's request because IMM, so not happy with it. But I think the Commission explicit order was good enough for him to take this. And then now even we have a statute with the carbon-free standard. I hope he's not raising that flag again. But that's why I think maybe we need to have a more refinement. But I think I agree with the department that we can discontinue this one, but maybe we can refine and then get the more better data to make sure, because when I was working with the MISO, when we decide what information to be published, it wasn't easy to capture even for MISO to which one is a self-commitment or not. So now I understand that utilities concern and the department's concern better, that given that maybe I think a refinement might be better than just continuing it, if it is okay with the Commissioner Tuma.
You know, it is. And part of what I think is valuable about doing this correctly is that it I think, extinguishes some of those opposition. Now, sometimes there's going to be results that are unusual, but usually it's explainable. And so how we refine it and do well, I think actually puts out the fire before it gets going. And that's why I like this. You know, when you look at it holistically, it has been a win for our ratepayers, and it should be something that messages. Now, can you grab one piece of that information and make an ill-informed argument? There's some people that could, or an intentionally deceptive argument is other concerns. So yeah, maybe a compliance filing suggesting some refinement, working with the department and the stakeholders working on a better refinement to measure this would be a better approach.
Commissioner Hahn.
Thank you, Chair Sivan. So that discussion between department and utility can include discontinuing this information if they can find better way to inform us. So rather than we order today to discontinue this one, we just give back to the department and utility to work with for potential better compliance with overall.
Right.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
So I need 5 minutes, so our order writer can have a right language if he's okay with the chair.
Sure. Let's take or Commissioner Partridge before.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Stephen. I just had a general question before and then I'll be done with my questions and we can move on. But one thing here that I noticed, and I know part of the reason is that LMP prices were down in 24 compared to 23, but the percent of uneconomic dispatch increased quite a bit. And when you compare, I think it was table 13 to table 6, which just, you don't have to do that, but it shows the days that were net cost, the hours that were net cost in each year. You can kind of see that 24, there was far more costly than 23. And I think this question is largely for Otter Tail and Minnesota Power. It's just, do you have any plans for going forward to try to minimize that uneconomic dispatch, regardless of, the way the LMPs swing year to year?
Commissioner Partridge, we do try to manage that to the extent possible. As you mentioned, really the LMPs drive that ability because you can't, as everybody knows, a power plant isn't a light switch. You can't just flip it on and off. And so when we look at it, we're also thinking about wear and tear and O&M and potential cause of outages. So whenever the LMPs are down where they were in 2023, 2024, you end up having more time where it's uneconomical, where we would switch it off like a light if we could, but it's just not possible. And then when the prices are back up where where they are again today and where they were in 2022 in the 40s, even when you have those ramp down periods, you're making money on it, or it's beneficial out in the market. So we do have programs in place to attempt to do that, but also within the constraints of making sure we're not damaging the the underlying equipment or affecting things like that, for a short-term benefit that might have long-term ramifications that are even worse.
Okay. Otter Tail, did you have anything to add? I think yours was also partly the ownership structure.
Commissioner Partridge, yes, I think that's a big factor for Otter Tail. We have, we are, if we're both Coyote and Big Stone, we're just one of many co-owners. And so they have contractual rights to operate the unit whenever they would like. And they, in the case of Northwestern Energy, they have different drivers in 24 and I believe in 23, and as far back as I can think right now. SPP market at those two nodes clears higher than it does in the MISO market. And so they would like the unit to be online. And so due to that contractual obligation, we are self-committing the unit those hours. But I would say that we do get together usually on about every other week basis. Sometimes it's shorter, sometimes it's longer, and we discuss offer parameters with all of our co-owners. I believe in 2024, except for instances where there was a requirement for building heat or testing, Otter Tail always recommended utilizing an economic offer. And so we're in favor of using the economic offer, but I think there are other constraints that Commissioner Partridge alluded to that prohibit us from doing that fully, but we do ramp the unit up and down from our min to max to match the LMPs. So.
Right. Thank you so much. That answers my question.
Okay, let's take a break until 11:10 a.m. The commission stands in recess. the commission will come back from its recess, and Commissioner Hom.
Thank you, Chair Sieben. I think potential revised language is ready, and then if everybody can agree with that language, I can make a motion.
Do you want to put it, or have, there we go.
It's impossible. It's about as
Dr. Lieb?
positive you're going to get.
Yeah. Did you have any comments, or you think this works?
Chair Sieben, my folks in the back are telling me this is fine, so I think it is fine.
And do the utilities have any objections you wanted to raise? No? Okay. Commissioner Hom, do you have an overall motion, or unless there are other questions from commissioners? Okay.
Yes, I can move decision option 1 through 8 and modified 9.
Great. Is there any discussion of the motion? All those in favor of Commissioner Hom's motion, please say aye.
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 The motion prevails 5-0. Great. Thank you, everyone, for your work on this item. And there's no other business before the commission, so we will adjourn for the day. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks for using WebEx. Visit our website at www.webex.com.
No, but I think the reality is that we need to refine it.
Yes.
I think that it saves money for the
Yeah.
And then not only Minnesota, I think at the time Indiana and a few other states were trying to follow us.
Yeah.
Because it's about money, not about the carbon emission.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.